Real quick, it occurred to me a couple things to tack on to the video I just made about it's not a game. So I guess it's gonna be This Is Not a Game part 2. Really quick. Couple things. Two sort of separate points. One having to do with my cat. So when this is the second girl cat I've lost. This happened a little over a year since I lost the first one, who I adopted with my boy cat from the same litter. When this second cat, the little white kitten, disappeared and it was looking like she was killed by coyotes, a handful of people that I had told about it afterwards, and it was obvious that I think it was obvious that I was really upset about it. A handful of people of the group I told, and they were pretty much all dudes, essentially responded with, well, just get over it. Get on with it. She's gone. Get another cat. I already got a comment on the video I posted. Essentially was right along those lines. Cats are a dime a dozen. When I was living on the farm, was essentially what the comment went right before I removed it. I'm not even looking at the comments for the video I posted before that one, just so you guys know. And I'm planning on letting all of you guys, like, waste your time leaving a bunch of comments. I just happened to notice that the one I just mentioned popped up. I probably won't be reading anymore, but the other video, the last one I posted before the one I posted tonight, I don't know how many comments are on at this point. I'm not even reading them. I'm going to let you guys waste your time leaving comments, and then I'm going to just do a mass, disable comments and let you guys waste your time. Because most of you are trolls. So please do waste your time leaving comments that I'm not going to read, and eventually most people who see these videos are not going to read because they're just going to be deleted. Please do. So yeah, that's been the overall response from mostly dudes. Get over it, get on with it. So I'm going to real quick tell a little story that I told to one of them to make a point. This last kitten was not the first kitten that I lost recently. A little over a year prior to this, just before last Halloween. On my way out to California on the I-10, and when I was in the middle of Texas, my rig turned over on its side, and while a police officer was pulling myself and my cat out of the rig, I'd already got my boy cat out, he was safe. While I was pulling his sister out in my arms, being pulled out, she freaked out, jumped off the rig, and ran onto a farm. And it's nothing but like farmlands out there. It's about an hour west of Houston, Texas. And I was in the area for a couple weeks trying to find her. Went around farms and I couldn't find her. However, that was not the first time I lost her on that trip. That was the second time I lost her. The first time I lost her was about a week prior to that in South Carolina, because I was on my way down from Jersey to Florida. I was going to spend a day or two hanging out with a friend of mine in Florida, who I hadn't seen in a few years, and then hop on the I-10 out to California. And I stopped at a rest stop in South Carolina and took my two cats out, my boy cat and his calico sister from the same litter, on leashes, because I felt like they'd been trapped inside the rig for a while. I wanted them to get some fresh air. So I took them out on harnesses and leashes, and they slipped away from me. I managed to get the boy cat right before they could slip. They took off straight towards the woods, backing up behind the rest stop. And the woods were blocked by a big chain link fence with barbed wire curled along the top, and another string of barbed wire along the bottom, separate between the bottom of the fence and the soil. Like I said, I managed to grab my boy cat before he could get under the fence and get him back in the rig. But my girl cat got under the fence and out into the woods with her leash on. So, of course, I'm freaking out. And I'm running back and forth between the edge of the woods with the fence and my RV and trying to figure out, take stock of what I have. How do I get over there? How do I get my cat? Oh, my gosh. And kind of going around a little bit to people around, can you help me? Do you know, like, what's on the other side of this? Is there somebody around here who can tell me, like, is there a place in this fence where I can get through? Please, can someone help me? Does anybody know? I need to get my cat. One dude saw me in distress, and it was very much like the fox came running when he heard the rabbit scream, started kind of following me back and forth alongside me. Just a squatty little toad of a man. Ugh. Pretending, sort of, to trying to help me, but really the entire time telling me, like, you should just forget about her. I mean, she's gone. Cats run off. There's foxes all around here. Foxhole. She's probably dead by now. And all the while also going, I like you. Can I get your number? And I'm like, do you have a stepping ladder or anything? I got to figure out how to get the frick over this fence or under this fence. I had to get to the other side of here. I'm going to find my cat. I need to find my cat. Can you just help me? I'd be like, can you just help me? I said to him stuff like, a stepping ladder, anything. Can you give me a lift over? I just need a way over this fence. I need to get my cat. I know she's right in there somewhere. I got to find her. She's my baby. He was very, like, he's mostly focused on trying to convince me to, like, forget about her or let it go and focus on him. And he was also like, oh, well, the land over there on that side is federally protected land. And I can't help you get over there unless I call the government and ask them for permission. So there I am, frantically trying to figure out, like I'm taking stock of the fence and everything, things I got in the back of my rig, like trying to figure out a way to get over this freaking fence. Sorry, I don't give a shit that it's federally protected land. It's a freaking forest. I was only planning on going in there like a few yards in to find my cat. I'm not planning on going there for anything else. I doubt very much the federal government gives a shit if I'm just over there, like, looking around for my cat a bit so I can fucking piss off with her, leave. I'm pretty sure they're more concerned about people, like, I don't know, illegally hunting or, starting crack dens or something out there or whatever. I don't care. I don't think they care about the little girl look for a cat. I mean, not a little girl, but, like, obviously, like, come on. That's about as harmless as I was at the time. Just about, unless you're hurting my baby. Like, then it becomes mama bear time. Anyway. So dude is, like, taking out his phone, calling up the local township government or whatever. Yeah, I'm just wondering if I can get permission. This lady's trying to get her cat. She want me to go over the fence and help her, and I was wondering if I can get permission. Meanwhile, I'm actually making moves. I realized I could get a little rug I had. I had a bunch of rugs. And laid across the barbed wire along the bottom and shimmy between the rug and the fence. So that's what I was doing as he's on the phone. And finally, I'm on the other side of the fence going, like, basically, I wanted to say this, I didn't say this, but he was kind of like, give me a call, I like, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'm going to go find my cat. What I wanted to be like was like, thanks, but no thanks, pussy. You're a fucking coward. You had to go ask the government for permission, tell me get over here, so I wander around for a few minutes to find my cat. You stood there, basically told me to just give up on my baby and, like, pay attention to you. Yeah, you're a chivalrous hero. Like, go the fuck away. Fucking loser. Anyway, wandered around back there for a bit and didn't find her. And went back to the rig and was freaking out, crying. And put out, like, what is it? Like a pet watch, Amber Alert for pets. And then decided to go back out there one more time before sundown, see if I could find her. And the second time, so all said and done, I think like 4 to 6 hours had gone by between them running into the woods and, like, me taking off from the rest stop. But, like, second time I went back out there, within 3 minutes, I walked maybe a few yards out into the woods where they ran in, and there she was, sitting there pretty as a picture, just waiting for me to scoop her up. So I was like, and so can you imagine? Because like they were, I guess recently when I was out going out back and forth in the dunes and crying and sobbing and going like, why again? Calling for my baby kitten, like, honey bunny, come to your mama. I guess they couldn't understand, like, why are you tormenting yourself? It's like, could you imagine if I had just listened to that dude tell me and just forget about her? If I'd given up after the first attempt. If I had even tried the first attempt because I thought that dude, that squatty little coward of a toad, was right and I should just move on. She's just run off into the woods. Oh well. Them's the breaks. It's life. We have mothering instinct ingrained in us for a reason. Mothers are supposed to be very invested in their children or babies or anything that they perceive as being like a baby to them. We're supposed to cling to their well-being, as even residually. The mothering instinct is one of the biggest things. Is a huge, makes all the difference between having. If we didn't have it, there'd be a lot more dead kids in the world. There'd be a lot more kids just dying needlessly, unnecessarily, being given up on when they should have been given a chance. There are species of birds out there, prehistoric, like from back during the dinosaur days. That there's a lot of birds and reptilian species out there, and animals like this, that they'll only back the strongest of their offspring. They'll have 2 or 3, and whichever, if the other 2 are too weak, they won't feed them. They won't bother. They won't waste resources on them. They'll just let them starve. They'll watch their own offspring starve. If you go look at those animals, I forget what they're called. There's like a hornbill. One's like a huge, the one I'm thinking of specifically is a huge type of stork. I think it was kind of like in Africa somewhere. Out in marshes. It makes these big nests on the ground. And has maybe 2 to 3 offspring. And, the stronger one will bully the crap out of the weaker ones, will beat them up, essentially. And when the parent comes back with food, the beaten one kind of goes over to the mom, like, help me, mommy. And the coldness in the parent's eyes is chilling. It's looking at its suffering offspring, and there's nothing there. It doesn't care, and walks right past its own child, or that's horribly traumatized and suffering, and proceeds to only feed and support the strongest of its offspring that's been beating up the weaker offspring. So that's a prehistoric bird species. It's not a human being. Are we starting to work out these boundaries for human being? Human beings don't give up on one another. They keep fighting for each other. I had to keep looking until I felt pretty certain that she was likely dead. I had to keep looking until I either found enough of her remains that I knew she was dead, or until I found her alive, or mostly alive, clinging to life, or until enough time had passed that it was looking like she was probably dead, but I wasn't going to find any more remains. So, and that's called being a mother. And there's good reasons for us being this way. And if we weren't this way, most of you idiots would be dead. Because we'd have thrown your very annoying toddler asses into a dumpster a long time ago. If we weren't really invested in you, you know how fucking annoying you are and were? when you were the size of a football, when you were 2 feet tall and very demanding, your ass would have just been left behind in a park somewhere if your mom wasn't really invested in you. So stop telling women and mothers to not be women and mothers. That's stupid. That's really stupid. It's not a smart move. Not at all. So that's one point I wanted to make. The second point I wanted to make was to tack on to again, this is not a game. So a connection I wanted to make was, again, along the lines of people brainwashing kids into thinking that this is all a game. Something I've heard in my research, read of, popped up here and there. This guy named Fritz Springmeier gets into it in a book series about Illuminati bloodlines. I suggest you look into it. There's a chapter where he goes over some mind programming that it said the Illuminati bloodlines do to their children or any children they get their hands on. And some of this programming involves doing things like taking kids when they're as young as 3 years old, pumping them full of psychedelic drugs like LSD, and making them sit down in a room that's full of these different props with a programmer, an adult who already has like a set of programming codes and phrases and such in mind, and making them watch movies like Fantasia on a large dose of LSD. The programmer will be sitting there off to the side, ready to feed this child suggestions at key points in the movie. And they say things to the kid like, I feel like a little girl with a horse's body. And essentially, this is another way that they try to convince these kids. If you go through, it's in Fritz, again, his name is Fritz Springmeier, I believe, Fritz Springmeier. The Illuminati Bloodlines. Just Google that. You'll find the books. You can find the free PDF. It's in a few different locations online. So you don't have to buy the books. I would try to, if I were you, if you have the money, I would totally be supporting these people whenever I can and have the money. But if you don't, there are free PDF versions you can get online. Yeah, so it's pretty brutal if that is what they're doing. I've heard similar things going on in MK Ultra program. Basically experimenting with kids' minds and trying to get their psyches to split, causing dissociative identity disorder, essentially a multiple personality disorder, which occurs in patients that have suffered extreme trauma, chronic trauma, usually from a very young age, and usually from the people they should have been able to trust, the primary caregivers, and usually sexual abuse. It's my opinion that they're playing around with kids' minds, trying to actively get their psyches to split so that they can and train them, trigger them to come up, certain alters to come up, personalities come up, and then go back down with trigger words. So that way they can trigger an alternate personality to come to the surface, and they can abuse that personality, that alter, and then they trigger it to go back down and be buried again and be replaced with the typical personality or alter that the kid has in place to deal with most of the rest of the world, so that they can do horrible sexual abuses and torments and experiments on these kids and have these kids practically not even remember it, because it's happening to, like, it's like they're partitioning their these kids' minds as if they're partitioning a hard drive on a computer. They're splitting it up and causing some of it to be repressed down, and only able to come up when they want it to come up so that they can abuse them, and the kids won't even necessarily know that they're being abused. That's what I think might be happening here. Please do go read the 13 main Illuminati bloodline names. There's like, I think there's like 12, 13 main names, and there's like 3 cross names. Like as in McDonald was one of them. The 3 cross names. Those names came from a crossing over of the other main names. Those bloodlines crossing. One of the names listed, I mean, there's Astor, there's Bundy, there's, I don't get it. Astor, Bundy, the one that I'm, Lee, Onassis, Kennedy. The one that I'm interested in now is Freeman. That's one of the names listed, Freeman. The last name Frank, F-R-A-N-K, the last name Frank means Freeman. Dave Frank has a video on his YouTube channel about Morgan Freeman, the celebrity, doesn't he? I have a little bit of a gut instinct gnawing at me that the Frank family might be an offshoot branch of the Freeman Illuminati bloodline family. Maybe. At the very least, part of the Frankist movement, both. So just want to tack that on there. Oh, another video we'll get into, I was telling a friend about recently, is I'll be adding on to it. I kind of got into it in some of the Jeep and the Creep, one of the Jeep and the Creep videos, explaining how there's a difference between our decision maker in our minds, the part of our minds that makes decisions, and our willpower. Those things are 2 different things. They're not the same thing. And I've been thinking on what is my true will, which is your deepest, darkest, not darkest, but your deepest desire, not necessarily dark. But that would probably go all the way back, peel back the onion down to its core. Your reptile mind, your survival mind will probably hold the key to your deepest desire. And so what comes out of the reptile mind is there's actually 2 different things. So I think I've boiled it down to 2 different things. We'll get into it with another video. 2 different possible core desires or wills that everybody will have one or the other. It'll ultimately boil down to one or the other. But I'm going to make another video they'll be specifically focused on that. Just a little I don't know, teaser. So yeah, I just want to tack those on. There's a lot of good for protective mothering instinct. And typically the higher the mammal, the more protective they are and the more residually protective they are. Even after they know that the baby's gone, it's harder for them to let go. They will eventually, but like, for example, monkey and ape mothers, even well after their baby dies, they'll hold them for days. And it's like they have to come to terms with like the child's gone, the offspring, the baby's gone. Whereas a lower creature, one of those heron things, storks from prehistoric days, they would they can walk right past one of their offspring in the process of suffering and dying. I'm sure they're perfectly capable of letting go once it's actually dead, too. Like, they're not going to cling to it, are they? So, there's good reason for it. Stop telling us to just get over it and get on with it. And, oh, well, the baby's dead. We can make more babies. Like, you know what? Why don't you go find someone else to make more babies with? Because I'm just running out of patience for you. This lack of empathy just simply won't do. This lack of courage, laziness, lack of selflessness, heroism. It's just no bueno. What is there to respect? And like you guys think you're supposed to be ruling the world? Or telling us what to do? Or you think that you're appealing as breeders? Like, partners or breeders for us? Like, you don't understand why we're sad when we lose our pets or our children. You just want to get over it. Like, so... Ugh. Wow. Anyway. Alright, 26 minutes. I'm gonna go to bed. Good night.